This meeting is being recorded.
Hey guys, I'm Jess. I'm in subgroup 1.
I'm Maddie. I'm in subgroup 1 too.
I'm Emily, and I'm in subgroup 2.
I'm Katrina, and I'm also in subgroup 2. So we wanted to go through and talk about some positive feedback points for you guys, and just giving you guys some constructive feedback as well. I really wanted to go in, and you guys did an awesome job with how thorough you were, and really making sure. I loved the demographic portion. You guys really touched on marital status, age, religion, ethnic backgrounds, and all of that. So I do want to, you guys did amazing with that. Let me see. If you want to go in and, talk about
Sure.
any positive feedback points that you had.
Yeah. So specifically, with the demographics, one of the things you guys did a great job with is using identity first language instead of person first language, or I should say rather, especially because, we're covering a lot of diversity in this class. So that was a really, really good component of the assignment. And another thing that we would like to just touch on as positive as well, the demographics were very specific with a lot of percentages. And out of curiosity, did you guys, I do believe after reviewing it that you used obviously different sources, but did you get the bulk of those percentages, I should say, from one article, just throwing a question out there, or was it multiple articles that you were kind of looking at all of those percentages?
The statistics specifically came they came from the Census Bureau.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And they're pretty up to date too, which was nice.
That is really nice.
Yeah.
And that's super important, making sure that everything is up to date. And I think you guys did a really good job finding articles as well and specific data that was pretty recent and wasn't too far, because that's really relevant, with our antecedent interventionists,
Yeah, especially with it being 2021 as I'm kind of reviewing that.
Yes. Yes, in the clinic. So
do you want to go with another feedback, Trina?
Yeah.
And then I'll do and then we can see if you guys have questions as well right after.
Okay.
I wanted to touch on just a little bit of constructive feedback point. Just one point that I had was just I feel like I know part of the rubric is we want to add some points on incarceration and unemployment rates. I thought that those were missing, and for Charlotte, and how could we add to expand on those demographics. You guys did a great job with the demographics. It was very thorough, but just maybe adding some points about incarceration and unemployment rates. Do you guys think that is something you guys would be interested in doing, and for demographics furthering that?
I think we could definitely research more specifically on that point, and then that could possibly tie into the advantages and disadvantages of the intervention and just availability of services in general. To kind of just come back to the intervention, just further research past just what we already have. We can definitely look into that with the rest of our group.
Right. That's awesome. Thank you, Jessica.
Awesome. And, I'll follow up with another positive here that I would like to mention. One thing that our group thought was really important that you guys did at the end of the demographics, you talked about what type of person is most likely going to be seen. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, as well, about who wouldn't be seen, because I think that's meaning what type of person as far as diversity goes. So was that something that you guys found some information about? Like, for instance, I guess a good example would be, I'm trying to think, like if you're in a rural area, you would see somebody, maybe you would see, I don't know, blue collar workers, or in the city, you're going to see different, more office job people, if that makes sense. Did you guys find any other research on who you wouldn't be seeing in certain areas, or do you think that that would be important to include?
Yeah, I'm not really sure if we thought about that. I definitely think that's something that we could look into and is important to put in there. I think that is an interesting point. And I mean, I definitely think it's something to look into.
Awesome. Yes, I think that's great. Just something to consider, because
Yeah.
it can be helpful if, like somebody from a different background comes into an area, and knowing what type of people they're going to be around, but also what type of people they won't be seeing, meaning and again, type of people in regards to background, race, ethnicity, and culture, all of those things.
I think that'd be a good opportunity. Like we use examples and non-examples.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a
Operational
great
definitions,
idea.
so we can definitely apply that here too. Yeah, so that's good feedback. We'll definitely carry that over.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point, using, because we're taught with our operational definitions to use non-examples as well.
I was just going to say that. I also wanted to, under the public school setting, with a couple, just a point that another piece of feedback is adding a staff member to the school regarding translation or interpretation services for speakers of other languages. Just I feel like that's a little important, like very important too, because not all people are going to, speak the same language as us. What do you guys think research wise? Do you think that could be something that you could go in that direction?
I definitely think so. I mean, most schools that I've worked in or worked with, they usually do have that. Especially like, we always are taught, diversity and inclusion, and I've always had diversity and inclusion in school settings, and so that's something that I'm used to seeing. So you bringing it up actually makes me think that like is, I'm just not realizing that's kind of missing. So I think that's definitely something that could be added and
Right.
brought up.
Awesome. Perfect. Thanks, Madeline.
Great. And, another constructive feedback point that we kind of as a group had talked about, especially with Kyle, one of our group members in group 2, being in the military, he had just mentioned that it was fantastic how much information you guys came up with regarding military and the most necessary components. When it comes to, he did mention though, that when it comes to active duty servicemen members, each duty station can be rotated a minimum of like 2 to 6 years, and it can vary. So this doesn't always include deployment cycles. And with this being all said, including active duty members in a demographic information piece may sometimes be inaccurate, or basically unable to be counted accurately. So, in talking with Kyle, again, none of us would really know all of this, but just from his perspective, maybe there's some articles we could look at in relation to demographics with military members. Just maybe, we can all kind of look together, or you guys could check out just any military demographic articles that are related, obviously, to what we're trying to assess as far as demographics. Do you guys think that that's like a good idea? I feel like, focusing too much on the military, we don't want to obviously like be talking too much about that. But so it was something that I never thought of until Kyle mentioned that. I guess it's just something that someone in the military would really know. So if you guys would be interested, is that something you guys maybe would want to look at?
I wonder if we could find statistics or an article or any reference to the proportion of kids that receive services are
Yes.
military children. What kind
Yes.
of how that differs on base versus in the
True.
community. I think that could kind of reflect the point I think what you're trying to make, which I think is important to include, and see how like maybe even those statistics differ from the Charlotte city demographic. Because I think Kyle had mentioned that there's a base in
Right.
close
Yeah.
to Charlotte, so that demographic information can get kind of missed, but they are part of the Charlotte community. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering if we can find something related to that.
Right.
Yeah. And that I think too, I think that's awesome that you guys included that because, those kids, especially kids of those parents that are in the military, are going periods of time without seeing their parents, or maybe they are active and they're able to come home at night. So that would just be interesting to see how that kind of affects the students,
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah. Do you have anything else, Trina? Just kind of looking over our notes, what we wanted to talk about.
I think I'll end it on a really good note. I think that overall, like, I like to do the sandwich, good feedback, suggestions, and good feedback. I think overall you guys did a really good job, like just outlining each section and really going through the checklist and the rubric provided for this assignment. And we really appreciate the specific demographic information that you had in there. Also going through and being so specific in your intervention checklist and being your bullet points, your advantages, your disadvantages. They were thorough, but they weren't too in depth to where we were like, what are you talking about? It was very concise. I think you guys did a very good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to follow up to, coming from a public school setting as a teacher, which I think collaborating with a lot of agencies that are non-educational, the medical model per se. I really, really like how you guys went in depth with a lot of the public school setting. Some key points that I think are really beneficial for anyone utilizing activity schedules to know is, there is a much different setup in a school setting and a different type of routine versus going to a clinic or any type of outside agency organization. So I think this is a really important to note, considering that, we're advocating for the activity schedule. So, and you guys included opportunities for students to participate in other activities. There's also going to be some times when there's going to be activities that aren't necessarily ABA driven in a school setting. So, just making sure that you guys were like identifying those within your routines. That's really great. And also you guys noted as well about talking about the staff and making sure that it's listed what their educational level was, which is something I run into all the time, realizing the amount of training they do need and continue to need, especially from their personal background and their diverse background of how they grew up, especially if they have a lower level of education. So I think that's great that you guys touched on all that and really did a great job. So it's awesome.
Well, thank you guys.
All right. Perfect. It was
Any
nice.
final notes, I guess?
I think we're all good. I think we touched on pretty much all of it.
Good conversation. I think
Yeah.
we got some thoughts out, and sometimes I tripped over my words, but I think we did good. That was great.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
All right, thank you.